In this video, I am sharing 6 actionable ideas that you can start doing that will casually improve your life. Starting with idea number 1, the comfy chair exercise. This is something that I have started doing recently, and it's something that is just casually kind of life-changing. I learned about it from Michael Neal, and here's how you do it. Firstly, choose a comfy chair and a period of a few hours where you don't have commitments. So I like to do this after I've finished work. I'll put my phone to the side and sit in my chair. Your job is to stay in that chair for as long as you need to until you get an authentic desire to do something. Every time that you get an impulse to do something, you want to check into where that urge is coming from. Like, is it more of an itchy, impulsive, addictive kind of urge to go on your phone or something like that? Or is it like a genuine, like, oh, I really want to do that? You're only following the actually, yeah, that's something I want to do urges that come up. This comfy chair exercise sounds so simple, but it's something that I've been doing for the past maybe month. And the amount of things that it's led to me doing that were just so much more not only productive, but enjoyable than spending time on my phone of an afternoon. Life-changing. Idea number 2. Before you approach any task, ask yourself a question. So the British rowing team, who hadn't won any gold medals since 1912, were prepping for the 2000 Olympics. And they asked this question whenever they made any decision. Will this make the boat go faster? With every decision or opportunity, every team member was asking themselves that question. If the answer was no, they wouldn't do it. So when they would go to eat a meal, will this make the boat go faster? If they were tempted to stay up late, go to a party, will this make the boat go faster? They just committed themselves to a question and they end up winning gold. As you go about your days, when decisions or opportunities present themselves, pick a question that you want to ask yourself to make sure that you are making more helpful decisions. So for example, you could ask yourself, would someone who blank do this? So would someone who loves themselves do this? Would someone who has strong boundaries do this? Would someone who believes in themselves do this? Or you could just ask yourself, will this bring me closer to my vision? Does this serve my future self is also a really good one. This may not be a question that you carry with you forever, but if you even just spend a week having a question that you commit to that guides all of your decisions, you might notice yourself starting to see things a little bit differently, act a little bit differently, and that may flow into your life well beyond that 1 week period. Idea number 3, get into the habit of regularly learning new things. If you get into the habit of learning regularly, it could lead to you starting a business based off what you have learned. For example, on Skillshare, they have classes on how to start an Etsy store. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. There are graphic design tutorials. You can learn some of the most popular programs for any kind of design on Skillshare. It could lead to a raise at work because you up-level your skills. And it could lead to just generally more fun because it's much more interesting when someone asks, like, what have you been up to be able to say, I've been learning to draw flowers. I've been learning to make jewelry. I've been tuning up my marketing skills with Skillshare. And Skillshare has classes on literally everything. From productivity, illustration, design, web development, entrepreneurship, UX UI courses, social media courses. Skillshare has a class for you. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. And there are familiar faces on there. So you've got Thomas Frank, Ali Abdal, you've got some of me on there if you want some people that you already know and love. This morning, I was watching Productivity for Creators because my creator system needs an uphaul. You aren't just sitting there like nodding your head and going, yeah, good idea. You're actually doing the work. The first 500 people to click the link down in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so that you can get started today. Use that link down in the description below. Idea number 4. You want to create 2 Pinterest boards, activities to try, crafts to make, and then create 2 little lists, walks to go on, cafes to try. Whenever anyone asks you to hang out, refer to your list. So go to your Pinterest boards, go to your lists, see what you feel most drawn to. If you have Pinterest inspiration, send it to your friend and be like, this is what we're gonna do. The good thing about this is you only have to do the thinking once. When you're actually compiling all of these lists and putting them together, immediately your life gets a little bit more variety. You're not just going to the same places that you always go. You are doing activities that maybe you haven't tried before. And you don't even have to really think about it because you did all the pre-work by putting together the lists. You've just got to remember to use them. Immediately, your life will start looking a little more like your vision board. Idea number 5. start a redo practice. So if there's anything in your life that is sort of a repeated pattern, you're like, damn, every time that I need to set a boundary, I get really, really anxious inside and I avoid it. Or maybe you judge people a little and it shows. Maybe you gossip and then afterwards you're like, ugh, like that's not a thing that I want to be doing. That's so fine. Everyone has those patterns. That's life, firstly. But something you can do to improve those patterns or break those patterns is to start a redo practice. So at the end of your day, think through it, and if any of those patterns showed up, note it down. You might want to remove yourself from that pattern a little bit emotionally by writing it down in third person. So, she noticed a need to set a boundary, and then she felt feelings arise, etc., etc. When you do this, it creates this sense of distance. Like it feels like a bit of a wanky thing to do, but you distance yourself from it so that you're not so emotionally involved, which can be really helpful when you're reflecting. And then you want to mentally rehearse redoing that situation. So what you're not doing is picturing this picture perfect, like beautiful scenario where you are a different human being who had absolutely no anxiety or difficult feelings in the moment and just breezed through it, because that's not realistic. That's not how life works. That's not how practice works. Like practice is not effortless. Practice is effortful. Instead, you want to go back in your mind to whatever happened and you want to actually notice what you're feeling in that moment. So what's your inner experience in that moment? What thoughts are you having? What emotions are you having? And then you want to decide on a new way to respond to those difficult feelings. So you're not mentally rehearsing not having those difficult feelings or thoughts. You are mentally rehearsing how you react to them in a more mindful, demure way. You're training a new way of thinking into your brain's little algorithm so that the next time that scenario does pop up, you have a new little pathway that your brain might choose to go down. The more that you wire in that pathway, the more likely your brain is to choose to go down it. Idea number 6, messy, meditative morning pages. Me recommending morning pages is so wild. If you've watched me for a long time, you're an OG, you know this. And this one practice has led to me solving so many little problems in my life. And usually I would not start out a session being like, what, I'm going to address that problem. It would just bubble up and naturally like solutions would bubble up without me really being like, yes, let's solve this, which sometimes can help, but like more often your mind serves you up a solution naturally. And this kind of creates the space for your mind to serve you up solutions. So if you haven't heard of morning pages, it's something that Julia Cameron talks about in The Artist's Way. It's a creative recovery activity that she recommends. People describe it as life-changing. I saw so many people in my early 20s being like, morning pages changed my life. And I was so jealous because I was like, it doesn't do that for me. Olivia Rodrigo used morning pages for her creative recovery after her first album. Oliver Berkman has talked about morning pages as a tool, saying you can write about whatever's on your mind, petty worries, soaring plans, angry tirades. So the reason that I didn't like morning pages, or they didn't do it for me, was because I tried morning pages, but I was like, every day I just feel bad after I do this. Like it's just making my mental space worse. And I didn't really understand it because I felt like it was this flow of consciousness, but what it actually was me having difficult thoughts or feelings and then just kind of ruminating on them on paper. I wasn't journaling in this reflective, light, curious way. I was literally just ruminating, which of course is always going to make you feel bad. It's never going to lead to your life changing. So here are the changes that I've made and what I do today. If you're someone who, like me, has tried morning pages and has been like, that's not really that helpful, this might be an approach that you like. Firstly, my pages are messy. I use my iPad with my little pencil. I use the app GoodNotes, and I am scribbling all over the page. There is no structure. My handwriting is so messy. What I'm writing usually just doesn't make any sense because it's just like short notes. And these pages are more like a meditative practice to me now. So if I notice like a worrying or an angry ruminative thought, I'll note it down. I might write rumination or worry or heavy feeling in my chest or something like that to describe it. Unless it's something that I feel like I can approach from a reflective, curious state of mind, I'll just sort of let go of attachment to it, kind of like you would in a meditation. The beautiful thing about thoughts is that they are literally always flowing through you, so long as you don't get fixated on something that comes up. When you can just let go of your thoughts, new thoughts will always replace the old ones, and you will always have something to write without ruminating. Usually I'll hit something that I'm like, oh, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, and I might ask myself questions like, okay, what am I assuming here? Or what do I really want out of this situation, if I'm being so honest with myself? Those are two questions I really love. It's also a little bit like the comfy chair exercise. If I'm being honest, I usually mix this with the comfy chair exercise. And once again, casually life-changing. If you liked this video, you'll like my video on how to change your life in 6 months that I made recently. It has some other like really good ideas in it that are very tangible, like you can put them into practice. I'll have that linked on the screen as well as down below. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon.